U.S Commemorate 9/11 while Jamaicans take over Japan. This is Undiluted News. Mikey Bones reporting. 24 years after the airline hijackings that killed almost 3,000 people and permanently altered the course of American history, New York commemorated the horrific events of September 11, 2001 yesterday. Memorial services were conducted at Ground Zero in Manhattan, the site of the coordinated assault that demolished the World Trade Center's twin buildings and resulted in a plane crash into the Pentagon in Washington. Another jet, Flight 93, crashed in Pennsylvania's countryside when passengers overran the hijacker and took control of the aircraft. Over in Jamaica, meantime, Dr. Christopher Tufton, the campaign chairman for the Jamaica Labour Party, has criticized the People's National Party for having a sour grapes mentality and is advising the party to consider the factors that contributed to its loss in the election on September 3rd. PNP President Mark Golding stated that the party is extremely concerned about what he refers to as the extensive and vulgar use of state resources to impact the outcome of the election, even though there is not enough proof to bring a legal challenge to the election's overall outcome. Additionally, Mr. Golding asserted that the PNP votes were widely suppressed in marginal areas. And in response to the allegations, Dr. Tufton stated that the PNP is making an effort to defend its defeat without providing any proof. Meanwhile, the JLP is offended by the use of the phrase minority government by two human rights groups. JLP, who won 35 to 28 seats to the PNP, said they are not a minority government and have won convincingly. However, the groups are saying that less than 40% of eligible voters came out to vote, which is a poor and as such a minority choice by voters. JLP Communications Chairman Abka Fitz-Henley said that the party rejects the narrative that it is a minority government. Still, he said the JLP cannot afford and will not be detained or distracted by these narratives because there is so much work to do on behalf of the people of Jamaica. Daval Francis Wilson, the man who engaged the police in a 4-hour shootout on Tuesday in Mandeville, Manchester, is said to have been deported from Canada at least on two separate occasions. The 54-year-old unemployed man of Caledonia Road was fatally shot after he refused to surrender to the police, and he is suspected of killing 31-year-old Adrian Bernard of Buena Vista in Manchester following a dispute over the cost of eggs. He then fled the scene and, when located, exchanged gunfire for 4 hours with the police before being killed. And it is said that the police had drones at their disposal, and this helped them to keep track of where he was holed up. Wilson's criminal records in Canada includes convictions for unarmed robberies in the 1990s, and the Manchester police recovered an Omni hybrid multi-caliber rifle with several 5.56 rounds. They also got a Beretta 9mm pistol as well as more than 500 assorted rounds of ammunition inside the Mandeville apartment where he was killed. We're talking about 500 assorted rounds of ammunition was actually left there, and he held the police off for like 3 hours, so just figured out how much gunshots this man had. Meanwhile, a 53-year-old taxi driver has been charged after allegedly threatening a man with a gun. The police said that Kurt Goff, otherwise called Mad Kirk, a taxi operator of Slipen Road, Kingston, was charged with assault at common law, possession of a prohibited weapon, and using a firearm to commit a felony following an incident in his community on Wednesday, September 3rd. And it's alleged that about 9:50 a.m., Goff entered the yard and approached a man, then brandished a firearm and threatened to kill him. The man escaped unhurt and made a report to the police. Goff was later apprehended and charged after he was positively identified during an identification parade. Onto sports. World Athletics Championship begins tomorrow in Japan, and thousands of Jamaicans have turned up for the 7-day event. My underground source said he has never seen so much Jamaicans in his life at any event. In other words, he's saying there are more Jamaicans at this event than at any event at the National Stadium in Kingston. He said the flight from Georgia was 12 hours, but everything went smooth. And for a man who don't like to fly, he certainly is racking up trips this year as he has been to every track meet with Jamaica so far. And it is like festival in Jamaica as lots of Japanese have adopted the Jamaican culture, wearing the Jamaican flags and actually speaking our patois as well. Jamaica is very well representative in all events they excel in, and we could possibly see some records broken at this track meet. In schoolboy football Manning Cup, Hillel Academy clap Meadowbrook 3-0, Holy Trinity edge Jonathan Grant 2-1, Excelsior did a dominant score on Bridgeport 7-0, Heidel beat Gensted 4-1, St. Jago in a surprise beat St. George's 1-0, while Wolmer's demolished Ascot 6-0 and Mona beat Calabar 4-1. Manning's High School were in a destructive mood again, beating Louisville High 12-0, and just a few days ago they beat Petersfield 6-0. St. Mary Tech and Iona Tech drew 2-2. Rossi's High got by Anchovy High 5-1 in Lucy, while Froome Technical Blank Green Island 5-0. Cornwall College were held at 0-0 by St. James High at home, while Herbert Morrison edged Greenpond 2-1. Over in Zone D, William Nib opened their season with a 1-0 win over Troy High, while Orion Watson scored 8 times as former champions Glenmore High rolled to a massive 13-0 hammering of Bustamante High. Watts is more than halfway to the 14 goals he scored in the first round last season, as Glenmore High, who were semi-finalists last season, jumped to the top of Zone I on goal difference. Meanwhile, there were also big wins for last season's beaten finalists Magrat High, who beat Tatia's Golding High 9-0, while Manchester High and Monroe College were 8-0 winners over Cross Keys and Sydney Pagan High, respectively. Monroe College rebounded for their upset loss to BB Coke on Saturday to swamp Sydney Pagan 8-0. BB Coke stayed on top of Zone E after outscoring Magati High 3-2, while Neb Francis knockout holder St. Elizabeth Tech were held 0-0 by Newell High at home. Lenny Hyde got his first win as head coach of Dintil Tech as they beat Chalimont 3-0 with a brace from Romain Grant and another from Tirafa Bryan. And that's gonna be news and sports on your favorite radio. Catch me tomorrow evening live and direct from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. on 25th Century Radio.com. My name is Mikey Bones. I gone.